With the decision by 3 of my ministers to stand aside from the Cabinet and make way for new blood, the government is in a position to reshape ourselves for the task of rebuilding Queensland. I am delighted to welcome 3 new members to the Queensland Cabinet. These are 3 members who bring with them experience as well as a great deal of energy for the task. 2 of the new ministers, Jan Jarrett from the Whitsundays and Curtis Pitt from Far North Queensland in the electorate of Mulgrave, of course will bring the powerful voice of regional Queensland that's needed as we go through the recovery. Simon Finn, who is in the electorate bordering mine at Yurongpilly, has certainly experienced some of the worst flooding in Brisbane and will also be bringing a strong voice for the reconstruction effort. As the government moves to address the single biggest challenge that any Queensland government has faced in a generation, to overcome the worst impacts of the worst natural disasters that we've ever seen, we need to make sure that we have energised, that we are reinvigorated, and that's what this decision gives us the chance to put in place. I look forward to working with the new Cabinet, and I look forward to working with the new ministers. In addition to welcoming 3 new ministers, it's my intention to look across all of the portfolios of government and to reshape the government to ensure that we have the best people in the right portfolios as we go forward in facing some of our biggest challenges this year.
Why has the Gold Coast not got a voice in your cabinet? Hey.
With the resignation of the ministers yesterday, there are some parts of Queensland that will not have a minister, including Rockhampton and the Gold Coast. That does not mean that these places will be forgotten by my government. The Gold Coast is my hometown. It is the town that I grew up in, and it is always close to the top of my radar. That's why we're building the largest hospital in the Southern Hemisphere in our highest growth city of the Gold Coast. It's why we're building a new public transport system. It's why we're building a new stadium.
Could you not find an MP that was viable for your cabinet down on the Gold Coast?
We have a number of people on the Gold Coast who are great champions for the Gold Coast, and people like Peter K. Croft, who is doing a great job as Parliamentary Secretary. I spoke with Peter Kay about the opportunities in the Cabinet, and I think people would understand that Peter Kay right now has a newborn baby, and for her this is not the right time to put herself forward for the Cabinet. She's doing an extraordinary job looking after her electorate as a Parliamentary Secretary for Education and looking after a very young family. For her this is not the right time, but that doesn't mean it won't be, and I think people will understand that these things come with certain timings and certain circumstances. I've got a lot of talent on the Gold Coast. These are great champions for the Gold Coast, and I know they're going to continue to be.
So you offered her a position?
I spoke with Peter K. Croft about whether she would be in a position to consider the Cabinet, and it was her view, and I think she's made the right decision for herself, her electorate and her family, but now is not the right time for her.
You say you're going to reshape your Cabinet, Premier. Paul Lucas in Health, Stephen Robertson, could they look for possible changes to their role?
Over the last 2 days, I've gone through the process of accepting resignations from some very long-serving ministers and gone through the process of putting together new ministers into those positions. Over the next 48 hours, I'll be working hard to reshape the government, to look across all portfolios and all ministers, and by the swearing in on Monday, I think you'll see a very significant number of changes.
Mr. Langwood wants Mr. Lucas to go and Mr. Fraser to go. Do you take any notice of that?
I'll be looking to put the best people in the right portfolios to ensure, firstly, that we are well placed to reconstruct Queensland and overcome the devastation of the recent disasters, and secondly, that we are making sure that our big agendas in education, health, transport keep moving while the reconstruction happens.
So Paul Lucas may not be Health Minister come Monday?
I don't intend to speculate at this stage about any portfolios other than to say this is an opportunity for a shake-up. A shake-up is needed, and that's what you're going to see.
Is this an election year?
I don't intend, you can keep speculating and asking questions. I don't intend to speculate.
Premier, there'll be no more resignations though, is this it?
That's my understanding.
What are your plans for the tourism portfolio?
Tourism is one of the most important industries in Queensland. It's one of our largest employers, and it's been hit exceptionally hard by the recent devastation. This will be one of the important portfolios that I think carefully about before allocating to anybody.
Is it going to North Queensland?
For that,
I don't intend...
Would Ms Jarrett be a good fit for it, Premier?
I don't intend to speculate. I know that you've what you want me to do, but it ain't going to happen.
Did you pick these three, or did you have them thrust upon you by the factions, since they fit exactly from where people left?
These three ministers, these three, not ministers yet, the three people who I'll be putting forward to the Governor as ministers in the new Cabinet are my choice as the best people to lead us as part of a team over the next 12 months. I asked the caucus to endorse these nominees because I think it's important that new ministers do have the support of their caucus, and that was the endorsement that we received.
Premier, is this year not an election year?
2011 is not an election year, it's a rebuilding year. I know that with a change to the face of the government, there will be a lot of speculation. Can I just say, this is about putting the best team together to rebuild Queensland after significant devastation. That's what I think Queensland wants to see, and that's what I'm going to deliver. There are a number of... I am blessed with a lot of talent on the backbench, and it can't all be accommodated in one round. I'm equally blessed with people who have a lot to offer, but for whom right now they have very young babies, and they have indicated to me that now is not the time to put themselves forward. These things are always a matter of opportunity, timing, and the right people at the right in the right portfolios.
Are any ministerial ministers, guaranteed to stay in their portfolio?
No.
So you could have all the ministers could change.
Well, potentially, but this is an opportunity for a serious shake-up, a serious reshaping, and I'm going to take that opportunity. So you can expect to see a number of changes, and I think it's important that we look in the face of everything that's happened in the last 8 weeks and say, who are the best people in the right places to make sure we're equipped for the job of 2011.
Have there been some portfolios that have been hundreds of forming?
No, that's not the point. The point is we've been thrown a challenge in the last 8 weeks that didn't exist last year. We've had the worst disasters Queensland's ever faced. We need to rebuild and reconstruct and recover. So we need to look at where the people are in each portfolio, which ones we need to move to make sure we've got the right team in the right place for what will be a big challenge.
You've said a couple of times now...
before Monday.
You've said a couple of times now that recovery is the biggest issue that Queensland has faced ever. Do you think that's somewhat hyperbole, considering, global financial crisis, wars, those kind of things that have happened in the past?
Well, I did say in a generation, and it's more than a generation since we've had a major war. But I do think that it is, in some places... Well, there's certainly, I think, the worst natural disasters on record. And I certainly don't remember a time anywhere in Australia where we've had not one major disaster, but a series of them affect such a large part of any one state of Australia. And that's the circumstance Queensland's in right now.
Why is it so big? You're selling Abbott Point, that'll cover the cost. But beyond that, for the government, it's kind of handed over to the authority for the rest, isn't it?
The challenge of reconstructing Queensland is an enormous challenge, but it's not a challenge that's beyond us. It's one that we are up to, but we need to make sure we've got the right team, not only for the rebuilding task, but to make sure we're moving ahead on the important agendas for Queenslanders, on better schools, better health, better transport. And I don't want any of these agendas to slip away because of people being too occupied with reconstruction. I don't want reconstruction to suffer because of people being caught up in those areas. So it's about getting the right team for the job, and that's the chance we've got, and I'm not going to miss it.
Will you be revamping some of the portfolios? Would you be revamping some of the portfolios themselves?
Yes.
So
you don't necessarily assume that they'll be the same portfolios.
Simon, what would you like to do in the ministry?
Patrick, I'm delighted to serve in a cabinet that's led by Premier Bligh, and I'll be happy to serve in any portfolio that I'm given.
Your particular field of expertise, though, what would you...
Every portfolio in the Bligh Labor government is an important portfolio, and I'd be happy to serve in any portfolio that the Premier chooses to give me.
Did you always have an ambition to be a minister?
I think that everybody who serves a local community in the Queensland Parliament hopes at some stage that they get an opportunity to represent their community at the cabinet table, and I'm delighted with the opportunity to do that.
You had a bit of union backing too to get the lift up.
I think the most important support that I've received has been the support of my colleagues.
Mr Pitt, how are you feeling, Curtis?
You're happy to serve in whatever the Premier gives you as well?
How are you feeling about it?
I'm honoured to be given an opportunity such as this, and it's very humbling. And there's a big task ahead of us as a government, and I'm very thrilled that I can play a big part in that.
Getting some tips off your dad?
I get lots of tips from my father, but at the end of the day, we run our own race.
What did he say when you told him about this?
He was delighted.
It's a meteoric rise, isn't it, from freshman MP into cabinet?
I don't know if it's meteoric, but I believe that we all came into this place to work hard and serve our community, and that gives me an opportunity to do this here. I've always put my hand up for anything that has been an opportunity for me to do that.
But it's a pretty fast rails run.
Oh, I've got a career in public service, and I think I have a good understanding of how government works.
At this rate, you might be Premier.
Jan, how do your area is suffering big time with tourism? What will it mean having ministerial representation there?
Look, I'm really delighted to come onto the Premier's team, particularly as we are facing such an important time ahead in the reconstruction. And of course, the regional area that I've represented for 10 years now is suffering as a result of the economic downturn. So I'm just pleased to be part of the team that's going to address those issues.
Tourism would be a natural fit for you, though, wouldn't it?
The Premier will let us know in the fullness of time, and I'd be delighted with whatever I get, because all of these jobs are important. There are many issues in regions right across Queensland.
But it would be a natural fit, wouldn't it?
Look, I'd be delighted with whatever the Premier decides for me, and I will work hard in whatever portfolio that might be.
So you don't know already, and just keeping it till Sunday?
The Premier has suggested she will be announcing it sometime over the weekend, I believe.
Sunday mail.
No decisions have been made, and so none of these ministers have any idea what portfolio that they'll be serving in, because frankly this has to be thought through carefully. There are a number of options, and I want to make sure I get it right, because once you put this in place, this is the team that will take us through those portfolios for the next 12 months.
Has anyone put their hand up for health?
I don't intend to speculate about portfolios.
That's a no then.
Okay.
Just to put it right on the record, there's no guarantees for any minister that they'll be in their same portfolios come Monday.
That's right.
And sorry, you might have
Except
already...
me.
Are you going to keep asking?
I don't intend to speculate.
Sorry, did you already answer this? You could even change the names of some portfolios?
Yes. And responsibilities.
Would you be thinking about putting like roads and transport and main roads back to you, that sort of changes? Or
don't intend to go any
renaming
further
the
into
stupid
this.
name for portfolios like climate change, sustainability, and
Thank you.
Thank you.